All right, well, this is basically a ownership video of Ron Paul and all his crazy-ass followers. I don't think he's going to get elected, dog catcher, so I'm not really worried about him. I mean, I think it'll almost be a good thing if he won the Republican primary, because, he's not going to get elected, because he's crazy. And it's just so stupid. I mean, this whole philosophy is just so bankrupt of any kind of humanity. It's just really, it's just so disgusting. Yes, the corporate society, how charming. And the fact that there's these YouTube atheists that support this asshole, it's just a joke. So yeah, Captain Awesome, you're an idiot. And the rest of you, you're fucking idiots. You're just not worth the trouble. I mean, it's just, Captain Awesome hasn't even been funny. I mean, what, one video, the Jew video, was kind of funny. The rest of them sucked. So anyway, Ron Paul's an asshole, part 1.
We should permit trade as fast as possible and evenly as possible. I want low tariffs. Tariffs are taxes, and it doesn't tax the wealthy. It taxes the poor person who would like to buy cheap products.
So why were you opposed to NAFTA? Why was the hand so high?
Because it's government management of trade for this special interest. It's not really free trade. There are more requests from our government to NAFTA to raise tariffs. We want protectionism. If you're a big corporation, you might get some protection from that, where free trade is different.
Okay, so he doesn't like NAFTA because it wasn't a bad enough deal. Did you get that? It wasn't bad enough. He wants NAFTA to be even worse. He wants us to compete with 10-cent a day labor. That would be super. That would be just perfect. Let's find all the desperation in the world and force the average working class American to compete with them for a job. That's his philosophy. It really is. That's his fucking philosophy. He's opposed he's opposed to NAFTA because it wasn't a bad enough deal. Oh.
For a company like Google going to doing business in China, you think it was a good thing for us to begin operations?
That's right. That's your right under the Constitution, and it's your right in a free society. And
even if there are restrictions?
Pardon me?
Even if there are restrictions that make people uncomfortable in terms of access?
That's your business. That's your business. But the market, if some group in this country frowns upon it, they have the right to try to punish Google in the market. But they don't have the right to come to me to punish Google and say you can't do it. So your contract is your business.
So we get rid of Big Brother government so we can have Big Brother business who will decide what our freedoms will be, and if we don't like it, we have to find somewhere else to go. Google's a pretty good example. I mean, okay, look, there are some alternatives, but it's a marketing company, for Christ's sakes, anyway. It doesn't even produce anything of value. It's preposterously overpriced, 4 times, 10 times the value of General Motors for a marketing company. It sells fucking advertising, for Christ's sakes. Well, anyway, I mean, the whole idea of saying, he could have at least said, well, gee, you had a right to do it, but I really think it sucks that an American corporation would support and facilitate the suppression of freedom in another country. They could have said something like that, but, he wants us to exploit the world. That's Ron Paul's philosophy. Yes, let's exploit. Look, if the people are, being abused by their government, let's take full advantage of it.
Of course, we should, and I do, I extend that, that if you can't hurt me and I can't hurt you and I can't take your property and we're supposed to follow the contracts and the agreements we have, the government should do too. And that's where people fall down. You mean the government can't take from one and give to another? And can't they ever interfere with, how often does the government interfere with voluntary contracts? What contract can you do today without government approval? And how can you use your land without government approval? How can you maintain your land without paying your rent to the government? So those things are the things I want to work away from. I want private property ownership, and I want voluntary contracts, and I would...
Yeah, so this doesn't make any sense. What are you going to use exactly your land for? What is the suppressed use? You know, something to do with like toxic waste dump. Dig a hole deep enough, and you should be able to put anything you want in it. Yeah, private property right? Yeah, just dig it really, really deep. That'll fix the problem, and you'll only be able to sue me after you're dead. You know, after I've killed you, then you can sue me. After I've done the damage. Anyway, you know, and he says something about you know, paying your lease or your rent to the government for your land or whatever. Yeah, well, property taxes are a local thing, and he supports them in another section where he talks about public education. You know, it's an implicit endorsement of property taxes. 80% of property taxes go to education. Public education. So if you can't have it both ways there. Can't say he supports something and doesn't support the tax. Well, he just said how before he was against tariffs. Yeah, later on he says that's how he wants to finance the military, is through tariffs and excise taxes. But I'll wait till he says it. Yeah, this whole private land ownership thing. You know, Ted Turner owns, you know, millions of acres of land. All the rich people just buy up all the land in this country, and you know, the end result of a Ron Paul administration is monarchy. That's where it leads. It is just going backward. It's going backward in time. Wealth will be consolidated. That wealth will just become emperors. They will become the nobles, the wealthy elite, and they will declare themselves emperor, and that's the end. That's your future under libertarian nonsense.
You know,
consumer safety legislation?
Yeah. Not legislation, but there could be consumer groups. You know, maybe there's some group out there that analyzes electronic equipment and helps me buy things.
Consumer reports.
Yeah, something like that. And good housekeeping seal of approval. We would have a lot more of those if people wouldn't become dependent on government.
So somehow the government is suppressing consumer organizations. I don't know exactly how that's happening. The dependency on the government. What is the government doing? What is the government doing to let us know anything? They're not letting us know anything. They have put some labels on, you know, mandated some labels and some accuracy in labels. So presumably Ron Paul would be against that. That companies, you know, if they just want to put a label on it that says good stuff, they don't have to tell you what's in the good stuff. They just say the good stuff. And if one week they put good stuff in and the next week they put shitty stuff in, well, too bad. You know, you've got no guarantees. The contract is it's good stuff. Just eat it, drink it. It's yours. Good stuff. Don't worry about it. No guarantees. No warranties. No requirement to worry about, you know, health or safety. No, it's silly.
Any restrictions on that? Submachine guns?
Yeah.
Nuclear weapons?
Well, I think that there's a clear intent of blowing up a country and somebody knows about it, you know, that the clear and present danger, you would be able to argue some restraint on that. But whether it's an automatic weapon or not is, I think, irrelevant. I think the gun laws today punish the minorities in the inner city because they can't defend themselves. Rich white people and people live in the suburbs, they seem to have their guns and protect themselves. So no, we need people to be allowed to protect themselves. I think the Second Amendment would have prevented 9/11. They might not even tried it if they knew every pilot had a gun, you know, and the responsibility should have been on the pilots and the airlines, not on the government telling us that you can't have a gun and you can't resist. So we set the stage. Oh, you're thinking about blowing up a few places.
So again, not just the pilots, but the airlines can let people, you know, you're welcome to bring a gun onto the plane.
The airlines have the total responsibility, just like you would here at Google. You would decide if gun ownership was permitted by the state. And you didn't want any guns on here, you have a right. You have a right to write your own laws and say there's no guns on Google property.
The first thing you should notice is that he's talking like there is no Second Amendment now. You know, like it doesn't exist now. Like we don't have enough guns, we need more guns. And so the whole argument, yeah, can you imagine, you know, what the inner city needs is more machine guns. That's what's missing. Yes, there's not enough machine guns, maybe some light bazookas, you know, it's okay. It's not a clear and present danger, you know, sometimes a bazooka isn't a clear and present danger, you know, you gotta protect yourself, and sometimes that might be appropriate. Hand grenade maybe, you know, something like that, no problem. Where do you go with this nonsense? And then, you know, the whole 9/11 thing, you know, yes, okay, so I'm a terrorist, I've got a knife to a woman's throat, and the pilot comes out with his gun, what is he going to do? Well, you know what, going to shoot through the woman to shoot me? And what, I mean, get serious. They always find a way. It just, more guns aren't going to solve. Look, again, the idea that the white safe suburbs are protected because of guns, that guns are what are stopping people from robbing empty houses, is really silly. We all know the statistics. Well, we don't all know them, but if you go look at the statistics, I mean, guns don't, they're more likely to kill your wife or your kids than they are to kill a perpetrator. And that's just the facts.